Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Saturday night, these drivers are going to be having their third race of the season, turning left and right for the Circuit of the Americas 100. The drivers are practicing right now, and the speeds, they are getting close at the top of the field, and as well, a little bit more spaced out in the middle of the groove, but certainly should be giving us plenty of coverage to be seen throughout this whole entire race here tonight. And giving you the call is myself, Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart and Robert Moyer Jr. running productions and camera in the background. Trevor, we've had two amazing finishes to start out this season for Season 5 for WSSR. I mean, tonight certainly seems like we could see a third in a row.
Yeah, with how close these practice times are between the top five guys, we can see another one of those nail biters coming down to the wire finishes here at Circuit of the Americas.
That's going to be 30 laps for these drivers, as there will be a stage break, but no caution thrown at that stage break. So we're expected this race to go green all the way. Trevor, 30 laps of trying to stay consistent at a road course, especially at Circuit of the Americas. This is going to be a tough task for a lot of these drivers, as we're still in practice currently with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left before we get into a 10-minute long qualifying. So I'd imagine, Trevor, a lot of these drivers, they're thinking, let's get some practice in.
Yeah, get some practice in. Almost a 3.5-mile road course here at Circuit of the Americas, 20 turns, so consistency is going to be big for these drivers tonight if you want to get a good finish. And you got to minimize those little mistakes, and I'm sure that's what these guys are trying to do here in these final minutes of practice.
Yeah, almost a little under 3.5 miles. Like you said, Trevor, 20 corners for these drivers, and there's going to be a lot for these drivers to focus on, as we're seeing some on screen. It's going to be seeing that of Martin Morales running, as well as going to be having behind him that of the 97 of Alexander Light trying to follow suit, and they're exiting out of turn 20 up the straightaway to turn 1, which is one of the more tougher corners that these drivers are going to have to handle throughout this week, as well as other corners that we're seeing in front of us. Some of our favorites to watch out for, that is Zach Hall, as well as going to be some drivers trying to just find their pace, the 27, Jonathan Cogswell.
Yeah, turn 1, like you said, Sam, probably one of the most exciting corners at Circuit of the Americas, because it's uphill blind left-hander, and it's a very sharp left-hander at that. So at the start of the race, it's going to be probably one of the most exciting corners to watch as the drivers try to handle that off the start.
And for these drivers as well, got a lot of different shuffling going on points-wise, as a driver that actually came into last week as the points leader, that of Brandon Colley, actually has fallen down to 4th in points. And now Vincent Sora topping the boards as our points leader. Big help for that. It's got to be the stage points and the consistent finishes that we've been seeing from Vincent Sora, who, based off what all the reports that we've been getting of the practice races that have been ran this week and just practice overall, Zach Hall and Vincent Sora seem to be the heavy favorites to watch out for, but there certainly are some other drivers that are coming in with a lot of good speed.
Yeah, Brian Johnson right now, the fastest in practice. Aaron Smith, right there, 2/10 off. Tom Sinchek's also right there. And not too much further down the list, Cedric Hunter's there as well. So, I mean, the top half of this field, I feel it's going to be really competitive tonight.
And as well, the middle of the field, some drivers, it seems like from 9th and 10th place, there's a bit of a shuffle and a difference on pace. But then from 10th back to 16th and almost to 17th, it was very close, of only about a second in between those drivers. So there's going to be action up front as well in the middle of the field, which is the great thing about COTA. I don't think we've had a bad race here at the Circuit of the Americas ever on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We've seen drivers drifting for the whole entire race. We've seen drivers being on top of one another at all times. And it seems like for the lead, it always comes down to those final 2 to 3 laps on who's going to get the win at the end of the day. But it's time for one of the harder aspects of this race, qualifying for these drivers.
Yeah, qualifying here is really important. You want to have good track position at the start of this race, and the hard thing about qualifying here is you got to watch out for off tracks. Something that we don't talk a lot about at the ovals, but at road courses, if you 4 tires out of the racing line, you get an off track penalty, and that invalidates your lap time. So for a lot of these guys, it's a combination of going fast and also making sure that your lap is going to count at the end of it.
You know what's even crazier, Trevor, though, is I've been hearing that, especially here at COTA, the track limits might be even smaller than just 4 tires off the track. It could be just simply grazing the grass with your front bumper, and you could get an incident point. So drivers are feeling even more shrunk on how they can maximize their qualifying. And with the fact that you know, turn 1, talk about how intense, blind corner, how much it's going to be entertaining to watch. That turn 1, if you're not up front, you could be a driver caught up in an incident of someone running you over. So you're hoping that you get the best qualifying. But drivers right now only about halfway through warm-ups, and that's why the drivers are given 10 minutes for themselves for qualifying. Get 1 warm-up lap in, which is going to cause these drivers to take about anywhere from 2.5 minutes, almost 3 minutes of the clock down, and then each lap anywhere from 2 minutes and 11 seconds to 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So these drivers are going to take to try to even put just 1 single lap in, which already puts you at halfway through qualifying.
Yeah, it's a very long warm-up lap here at Circuit of the Americas, and you're using that time to get the tires warm, get the brakes warm, try to find your braking zones, make sure you get those memorized and marked for your hot lap. But yeah, Sam, once you get through the warm-up lap in your first lap, if you make a mistake in that first lap, it kind of puts you in a pickle on that second lap. So I think a lot of these guys are going to try to get their fast lap in on that first one.
As drivers starting to get themselves ready to get rolling here, as here we go, qualifying about to begin for the majority of these drivers as coming across the line, starting to go up the hill. And these drivers all got to make sure that they are not going to be making any type of major mistakes as taking through turns number 1 and into the S's as we get right along here for a qualifying run for Richardson in the 86. Trevor, this is another very questionable spot for these drivers. Those yellow turtles, one of the most dangerous things on iRacing right now on this track.
Those are car killers. I mean, they will launch you into the air on 2 tires if you hit those hard enough. And even if you barely clip them, they will greatly unsettle the car. So that's something these drivers are going to have to watch out for, not only in qualifying, but in the race if you're going 2x2 through those S's.
And once you get through the S's, you get into the more windy section, and those are going to be your first 10 corners of this race, as that of Richardson's going to be coming around these bends and hard into that of turn number 11 at this point, as this is when the drivers get on what's the speed trap, the backstretch, maximizing your speed, going through all the gears, but setting up for turn number 12.
Yeah, the key to a good lap here is getting out of turn 11, getting down this long back straightaway with as much momentum as you can, heading down into 12. And then you got to get the car slowed down because this corner comes up quick in these cars because you're not used to, I mean, you're not going all that fast in the first section of the track, and then you're at max speed going into 12, so it can catch a lot of drivers out.
This track, Circuit of the Americas, was built for F1 cars, and this is what we call as the Sector 3. These drivers dealing with a lot of winding right-hand corners that they come through here, as well as a couple of hard-braking left corners that they got to be settling these cars down into. But interesting to see, the drivers are, majority of them are stuck in first and second gear through this section of turn 12 to that of turn 18 before they can really start to shift up into third.
Yeah, it's a very, very technical part of the track there, low gear for them, and you just got to be so patient getting back to the throttle in these cars. They will break loose on you if you're not careful. So a lot of guys choosing to do second gear. I think you'll see some in third gear to get a little bit better of a launch out of that the double right-hander coming down into turn 19, but it's something we'll have to look out for later on in the race.
And Rich Jameson going to come away with a 2-minute and 19-second time. Really went with the neat and tidy, let's just get a lap in and time in, not really going for that pure speed, as here's some of the other drivers to watch out for. This is going to be that Chad Wilkes, who's one of the drivers that was up inside of the top 15, as well as some drivers that have found themselves into victory lane this season and has had a lot of luck in other leagues as well. You're going to move over to this 13 of Cedric Hunter, and Cedric's got to be careful, especially on getting on these rumble strips through the S's. Don't want to get an instant point because it will invalidate your time, and you don't want that, as about half the drivers that have not put a qualifying time in right now all got their first lap invalidated.
It's something, that we touched on. These track limits are very strict, especially, right there where Cedric was coming out of, I believe that's turn 9, coming down the hill to 11. You carry a lot of speed through that corner, but if you run just a little bit wide, that's one of the areas on this track where it's really strict on, the track limits. So might be a downfall for some of these guys that haven't got a lap in, but, Cedric looking pretty tidy here as he heads down the backstretch.
Two of the drivers that was not able to put in their times that got invalidated, Tom Sinchek and as well going to be Brian Johnson, our winner from last week at Indianapolis. Two drivers that were up in the top 5 of practice times. We're hoping that this second lap's going to be fast enough. As the 13 is Cedric Hunter, currently third on the board with a 2-minute and 12.209 a second time. And this 13's looking pretty neat and tidy, and as a driver that in other leagues have actually was won at this track, beating out the likes of Aaron Smith. But Smith, one of the fastest laps of even practice that he put down for qualifying.
Yeah, Ethan Smith right there with a 2-minute 10.8. I think that's about 2 to 3 tenths quicker than what we saw Brian Johnson have in practice. I think Brian Johnson, fastest in practice, ran a 2:11.1. So great lap there from Aaron Smith to put himself on provisional pole.
Aaron Smith came in and was one of the drivers that, if you looked on the paper, he was one of the drivers that has the most experience in road course racing. He's been fast in a lot of other leagues, and the 70 machine is hoping that he can translate that speed over. As here comes Tom Sinchek, hoping for one of his times to count. First one didn't. Second coming across the line, and it will count this go around. 6th on the board for Tom Sinchek on his second lap.
Yeah, Brian Johnson got his second lap in, ran a 2:11.2. It's going to put him outside the front row there, outside of Aaron. Vincent Sora didn't get a practice time in, but he's currently sitting third on the board. As I say that, he just gets bumped down to 4th as Zach Hall goes to third quickest with a 2:11.5.
And just like that, our front 5 all within a second with one another. As we see here, newcomer to the league just came in and joined the league a couple of days ago. It's going to be Ed Perry having his debut race here at COTA, and a lot of nervousness was over this 9. He was typing it in the chat. Wasn't sure if he really wanted to show up for COTA to be his first race, but, get the toughest race out of the way if you feel like this is going to be a hard one. And Ed Perry just hoping to potentially just go for a top 15 and surprise everyone with a top 10.
Yeah, come in, turn some laps, get to know everybody in the league, have some fun. If you're not comfortable with road course racing, it just gets you a little bit more comfortable, and it gives the guys some comfortability, racing around you, lets them get to know you as well. So happy to have him in the league, happy that he showed up here tonight.
As drivers are hoping to get their qualifying times in, a driver that was decently quick during practice, Jamie Lee Dunning, the 54, had internet issues right when qualifying started, and looks like will not be able to put a time in, which, speaking of putting time in, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers right now that have not put a time in. Ed Perry's hoping that he could finish out and get a time in for himself, and it looks like he's going to have just enough time to do so for the 9. 40 seconds still left on the clock.
And comes across the line there. Looks like P19 right now, provisionally for Ed Perry. Good solid lap. Was able to get a time in there, but Sam, you're looking down here. Jamie Lee Dunning, obviously, with the internet issues, but it kind of makes you wonder if some of these other guys, like we talked about, had those issues with the track limits in their qualifying laps and just didn't get an actual lap validated.
And one of those drivers is actually going to be 2 of them that we're seeing on screen right now. That's Justin Lewis. First lap not validated, and he'll spin out right before coming to the start-finish line. And that was 5 seconds before the session was done. And Justin Lewis will have to start in the back half of the field as drivers see their 10 minutes come and gone. And now it's time to figure out how they're going to attack this track here tonight. The 3.43-mile course, 20 corners here for the Circuit of the Americas on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Well, tonight, big thanks to a majority of our sponsors, but our grid sponsor, always a fun one for us up in the booth, it's Colleague's Mom. Thank you for giving us the sponsor as we get to see where drivers are going to be qualifying for themselves. Aaron Smith going to be taking that first place position for pole. Brian Johnson, who is outside, going to be in second. Zach Hall's going to be in third with Vincent Soren fourth. Fifth is going to be Cedric Hunter. Tom Sinchek's going to be in sixth. That Chad Wilkes going to be in seventh with, oh no, Collie, You did it again. You didn't even get top 5. You're going to be back in 8th. Well, your mom's going to be disappointed about that. In 8th place is Brandon Colley. 9th's going to be that of Alex Light, as well as Chuck Sweeting finishing out our top 10.
Rich Jamison is in 11th. Christopher Norris, Gregory Shaw 12th and 13th. Tyler Dangler in 14th. Martin Morales, Carl Polar 15th and 16th. Kyle Rochelle is going to roll off 17th. Outside of him, Christopher Howell, Ed Perry in 19th, and Jonathan Cogswell rounds out the top 20.
Then it's going to be that of James Kaufman in 21st position, Justin Lewis in 22nd. That's going to be the start of the drivers. Did not get a time in. With that of Richard Wolsifer going to be in 23rd, with John Peel going to be in 24th. 25th is going to be that of Brandon Zimmerman, with Jamie Lee Dunning is going to be in 26th, and James Hackworth Jr. finishing out our 27 drivers here tonight. We'll wait and see if officially all 27 drivers will roll off the grid. Some might decide not to, as drivers are sitting on the back stretch. We got to give thanks to some of the amazing sponsors that we have here tonight. Headline sponsor for the World Series of Sim Racing, that's Roasted Gems Coffee. The official title sponsor of the WSSR. Head over to roastedgems.com to get your hands on some premium quality coffee. Use the promo code WSSR for 5% off. Start your day off right with that of Roasted Gems Coffee. And I got to say, they certainly are a gem to have as a sponsor, and they certainly have been a pleasure for us up at the booth and for the drivers to go purchase some Roasted Gems Coffee. I'm going to be ordering some here in just about a week or so, and now I got to decide what flavor I'm going to get. There's a ton of a collection to pick from, and that's why I've needed practically a month to decide which one I'm going to try first. As drivers are rolling off, these drivers got a lot to worry about. How do they tackle this course? And Trevor, first lap, this is probably going to be the hardest lap for the majority of these drivers.
First lap, cold tires, cold brakes, especially turn 1 with everybody bunched up. Different braking points for, every driver, things you got to watch out for. And then going through the S's, you got to be careful getting the power down in these cars. They can be, really snappy. And even under braking, these things can get loose on you. So a lot of things to watch out for on these first laps as these drivers try to get, warmed up and get up to speed.
As drivers are going through corners, this is going to be through that of 16, 17, and 18, the wide right-hander, where we could be seeing a lot of drivers trying to go side by side here, or trying to figure out where the proper apex points are, as there's going to be 3 apexes at that spot as they then drive down into turn number 19, right up with a hard braking zone and get themselves ready to go. Here tonight, it's the World Series of Sim Racing, the Roasted Gems Cup Series here tonight. Season 5, race number 3, Circuit of the Americas 100 is ready to get rolling. Aaron Smith II, Ryan Johnson, Zach Hall, Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, Tom Sidchek, Chad Wilkes, Brandon Colley, Alex Light, Chuck Sweeting, your top 10. As they're ready to get rolling and charging. We are green as they get straight up the hill and get ready for the blinding corner. And this is where they got to be careful. How are they going to be testing this corner? Who's going to survive coming around the bend? Everyone's checking up the inside lane. They're really piling in, and Smith spins it out. The 70 makes a mistake immediately, and from the lead back to 15th and almost 20th. Trevor, that's the mistakes we were talking about.
Mistakes you can't have. Gave up so much track position right there, and just a little mistake, maybe a little bit too much gas, just slid the tires a little bit on the exit and spun that car around. And man, you go from first to like 15th, 16th, like you said, Sam, not something you want to have happen on the first lap.
A lot of work that's going to be made, and the majority of that came the jumbling and accordion effect of drivers trying to slow up on the inside corner getting into turn number 1. But through the S's, everyone survives from there. It's going to be that of John Peel starting from pit road for the 07. But up front, it is all that of Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, getting ready to pile their way forward as they're out of turn number 11 onto the speed trap backstretch. Who can maximize their speed? That is where all of them are charging right now, heading down into turn number 12. And Trevor, this is another spot. Hopefully those tires and brakes are a little bit more heated up.
Yeah, hopefully you got some heat in the tires as you head down into the heavy braking zone. Everybody looks like they've made it through so far. Vincent had a little bit of a look on Brian Johnson. Great passing zone turn 12 is after you get down that back straightaway. A couple guys further in the back lock the brakes trying to get slowed down. But Brian Johnson continues to lead here as they head into the third sector.
And driver that's really been struggling further on back going to be that of Martin Morales, as we're seeing that of Lewis watching the 70. That's going to be watching. Oh, Chuck Sweeting spins around in front of them. He saw the 75 off track in front of these drivers. Chuck Sweeting going to finally get rolling about lap 1. Those cold tires, drivers just trying to get a little bit too much, and the equipment's just not there at the moment. But Aaron Smith, he'll take that position and he'll try to go for a second one for himself, moving up to 14th. But on screen, this is going to be Gregory Shaw as well as Christopher Norris preparing themselves to try to get by these final 2 corners.
Shaw having a little look there, not able to do anything as they head down the front straightaway up into another great passing zone into turn 1. If you're brave enough, you can outbrake somebody, get to their inside, or even try to go around the outside in turn 1. So we'll look here. It looks like Shaw not going to do anything there as they head off down into the S's.
That was battling that was going on for 9th and 10th place. This battling on screen is for the top 5. That's Chad Wilkes, as well as going to be 4th place runner Cedric Hunter in front of them. And then you got a cluster of 3. Down to Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, and Zach Hall, all up front trying to battle for that lead position. And you got to be careful not to be throwing away any type of advantage. And Brian Johnson's loving the fact that he got the lead the way that he did. But honestly, this isn't a comfortable spot B for the 25, even though he's got that clean air to work with.
Now getting pressured hard there by the 15 of Vincent Sora as they head down into turn 11, heading down the back straightaway. And right behind them, Zach Hall's caught up to both of those drivers. And we're going to have a 3-way battle for the lead here, heading down the backstretch.
And now the backstretch, trying to utilize the draft the best that you can. And it looks like Hall's going to be the better position to try to dive bomb if he feels like it's necessary. But Brian Johnson, look at the history of the WSSR. One of the drivers that is running in this series and running here tonight that has won in a past road course. It was only all the way back in season 3 where he won the road course. Says right now might be giving up an opportunity, goes wide high, and now Vincent Sora in a spot that he felt similarly was in last week at Indy, right on the back bumper of that 28.
Yeah, Vincent Sora looking really comfortable so far early in this race. We kind of see different lines being taken here by drivers at different points of the track, and that's the nice thing about COTA and about road course racing is you can have a different line than the guy in front of you or the guy behind you and still manage to make up time on them. So it's always exciting to see the different lines and ways that these guys attack the racetrack.
As these drivers continue to race on, Brian Johnson's got to make sure he does not make a mistake, because at any moment he could be losing ground. And drivers losing ground, well, we got to go back to 10th place. That's where we're starting to see some drivers really starting to get tested. And it's going to be Aaron Smith recovering quite well for the 70 machine, but it's going to be that of Alexander Light. And oh boy, that of Carl Pooler finding himself with issues, but the climb up the hill, battling for 9th as well for 10th, going to be happening right now.
It looks like Aaron there, a little bit of a dive bomb there from, I believe that's the 56. Didn't quite get alongside the 70 as he clears them, heading down into the S's. And got to be careful going side by side here through the S's and make sure that you don't get an off track or hit one of those turtle curbs and upset the race car.
Yeah, and off track penalties either can give you just a number penalty that can add up to get you penalized, but luckily the admins here tonight, after doing some practice races, realized let's not give anyone penalties. There's a lot of restrictions, and the drivers here tonight feel like let's give each other a little bit of breathing room with how hard tonight's race could be. As oh boy, up to the lead, a change has just been made. Vincent Sora dive bombing into turn number 11, and now onto the backstretch, Brian Johnson. He's gonna have another opportunity. Get to the outside. Gonna try to outbreak the 15 potentially here, Trevor.
As they head down into here, into 12, Brian Johnson looks like he's just gonna stay in line. Yep, he's gonna stay in line and follow the 15 here, Vincent Sora. Maybe cool down those tires and try to find a way back by the 15, but Vincent Sora looking really quick here early on in this race.
You're trying to find your rhythm again in this sector 3, where you're going from turns 12 to 19. You're just bobbing and weaving back and forth. Couple of hard braking zones, but you're shifting up and down to second, down to first, back up into second, and through the corners, trying to maximize any type of momentum possible. As we're riding on our leader of Vincent Sora, looking back, and is now going to be on Cedric Hunter, looking back to Chad Wilkes, and in a sense of this battle for 4th, that's also heating up. But back to the topic of penalties and incident points. The major penalties these drivers got to be careful of is cutting corners. Trevor, that's going to be the worst penalty these drivers could get for themselves. There's no other disqualifications or drive-through penalties that they will be grabbing.
Yeah, the cutting corner penalty is one that is very harsh as a driver because it can range, depending on how bad you cut the corner, from a couple seconds.
Oh no, sorry to cut you off. Justin Lewis holds on, comes in, banging on the 54 Dunning's bumper. Now going to be having that as well as Richardson on the back bumper of the 86. Oh, got to be careful. This is 14, 15, and 16, rattling each other's cages up into turn number 1 now.
Yeah, as Dunning here takes a look inside of the 77 into turn 1, a little lockup there, but gets it done nice and clean as they head down now into turn number 2 and heading off into the S's. A good pass there in that braking zone.
And back to what we were talking about, the cutting corners penalty, time penalty, but Trevor, I mean, is it a time penalty that the drivers get tacked on, or is it something else that they're dealing with?
So it's a time penalty that you have to take within a certain amount of time on the racetrack. So if you say go off in the S's, it can give you a 2-second slowdown that you have to serve basically then and there. So otherwise you get black flagged and have to do drive-through. So it's something that as a driver you want to avoid because that's just free time that you're giving up to other competitors around you.
And drivers trying to minimize as many mistakes as possible. As we're riding on board with the 88, this is Christopher Howell, who a very loose exit of turn 11. Luckily able to hold on for now for himself, as going to be in trouble for some of these drivers side by side. It's going to be that of Dunning trying to make the passes on the outside. Will be able to outbreak the 88, or is it too much? Slow down, hope for the best as they turn into turn number 12. It's going to be a little bit of off track extensions for the 54, but we move up to a driver that almost was in a tricky spot, was same spot as Brian Johnson. Needed a perfect final qualifying lap after getting their first lap invalidated, and right now Tom Sidchek feeling comfortable where he's at, but within striking distance of Cedric Hunter and Wilkes right in front of him.
Yeah, running 6th right now. He's slowly caught up to Wilkes and Hunter in front of him here as these, first 4 laps have been completed. So slowly making his way up to these guys, being really consistent with his lap times here, and looking fairly good right now for the 8 of Thompson Chick.
I'd be wondering also on, the extension level on having incident points. Well, if you don't have any incident points, your time will be validated and actually will be posted. About half the field right now, Trevor, we're 5 laps, technically 5 laps completed for our leaders, and they're about half the field still has not had a clean lap yet. As we are closing in, we're coming up to the halfway marker of our stage. There will not be a thrown yellow for our stage break, but at lap 10, end of lap 10, whoever's in the top 10 get those bonus points. So drivers might be playing a little bit of mind games on how they want to position themselves for this race and how do they gain those stage points, as well as how do we get a clean lap in.
Yeah, the nice thing though as a driver in the race, knowing that you're not going to get penalized for incident points, is you kind of take some liberties with the track limits in a couple of corners, especially turn 11 coming out of the backstretch. We'll see drivers running wide there. Turn 19 going to the 20. That's another big spot where drivers tend to run wide just to carry momentum. And even down here into 12, you miss that braking zone just a little bit. You run wide here into 12 coming to 13. It's another spot where you're going to have those incident points, but that's part of road racing. You're trying to find a little bit of advantage on the guys in front of you, and those things tend to happen.
And now going to be seeing drivers trying to make their pressure moving forward potentially, as we're right on board with 38 of Christopher Norris. Norris feeling good, but if you look behind this 38, that's where we're seeing the gaggle of cars. We've got our leaders that are close to one another, of Vincent Sora and Brian Johnson. But from 10th on back, as we're right on board with 6-6 of Gregory Shaw, as off track's going to be seen of Gregory Shaw. Drivers are hoping that they don't make major mistakes, as Alexander Light able to get in line now, but this is going to be Norris, Shaw, Light, Dangler, as well as a couple of other drivers trying to join in the fray. As Tyler Dangler, you got to be careful. That is a very aggressive dive into the corner.
And Tyler there got a really good run into that braking zone. Didn't make the move, thought better of it here to see if he can set up the 97 of Alexander Light heading down into turn 1.
Turn 1, utilizing the draft. Yes, the backstretch is the longer straightaway, but you could still utilize a little bit of draft, climbing up the hill. And Trevor, yes, it's a blind corner, but how much of just gravity also is helping? You're going uphill. Does that help these drivers with their braking zones?
Yeah, so it'll help a lot. It really changes up, depending on where you're at, who you're around, how close you are to the car in front of you. It's one of those things that you can just let off and essentially coast up the hill. It allows you to brake a little bit deeper into the corner, so that's something that these drivers will utilize trying to make the move on one another.
As we continue to keep eyes on this battling again, Tyler Dingler in 12th place, got Alexander Light in front of him. Jamie Dunning's going to be behind this 19, as well as the 88 of Hal, starting to close in on the gap as drivers putting down some of their fastest laps of the day. Fastest lap so far that's been registered. Vincent Sora, our leader, a 2-minute 11.731 second lap time as Dangler's closing in. And this little draft package that we're seeing, it's really about the exit, and it just seems like for that of Shaw as well as that of Alexander Light, their exits have been so strong so far.
Oh, a little bit of contact there from Dunning getting the back of the 19, and that's one of those things where everybody brakes a little bit different. Maybe a little bit of brake lock there as the 54 gets into the back of the 19, but everybody keeps it straight.
Gregory Shaw throws it out wide, gives an opening. The 19 takes that position, right on board with Jimmy Dunning. And contact with Shaw in the 19, and hard braking early, and it's going to backfire. Felt like a brake check probably for Shaw. Nowhere to go for the 19 machine as he was just trying to get back up on track into a hard braking zone.
Yeah, Shaw just kind of nowhere to go there. Gets spun around, but gets it going straight here, and he'll look to hopefully make some of those spots back up. As we got a battle up here between Aaron Smith and Brandon Colley inside the top 10. Smith tries to make a recovery back up the field.
Yeah, he's trying his best. Going to be right behind this one machine up the hill. Watch out for the 70, and there he is, the yellow roasted Gems coffee machine, pressuring, hounding on the back bumper and to the inside, trying to set up for the S's. And this is where that hard decision of, do I just follow the driver in front of me, or do I make the pressure through the S's? Most of the time, you're stuck just following the driver ahead of you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate if you don't get the pass done before the S's, because it really kind of just slows you up as you head through here if you can carry more speed than the driver in front of you. But good chance to set them up going down into turn 11 to the backstretch if you get a good exit here out of turn 9.
Through turn 9, setting up to that of turn 10. Diving downhill, and here's the pass of turn 10 to 11. Smith pressuring and goes off and keeps the action here. And for that of Colley, with that type of a move, got to be careful with the exit of the corner, and somehow keeps the braking and the momentum. But can he hold on for turn 12?
Great job by Colley there, getting that thing slowed down for 11. But Aaron here with the draft heading down into 12. We'll see if he takes a look here and dive bombs him here into 12. Thinks better of it.
The surge just not there. I think that's a great call by Smith to back out and puts the pressure on, and Colley has to overextend again to keep this positioning. And for Smith, has to figure out where the mistake will come from. How will Colley make a mistake? And it looks like the pressure on the outside. Smith feels like he might be able to outbrake. He's going to try to do a crossover switch back on the one. But Colley continues to keep the momentum. And, sometimes there's drivers that have that just sense where they just race a little bit faster. Their defensive moves are strong. And right now, Colley's doing a great job holding off the 70 machine.
Brandon doing a really good job there defending from the 70s. He runs wide in 19, but it's going to give him, I think, a little bit better of a run down here in the 20 as Aaron again thinks about it. Decides, oh no, he's going to send it down here into 20. As Colley runs wide, Aaron's going to get that position from him.
And Aaron's going to take that position easy peasy through turn 20, but what a duel and battle we got to see between that of Aaron Smith and Brandon Colley. But while that was going on, mistake out of turn 20 for that of 13 of Cedric Hunter from 4th place now down to 6th. Big loss for the 13 machine.
Yeah, just a little mistake there for the Las Vegas winner, but still inside the top 10 here as we're on lap 8. Still within a good position to get stage points here is Cedric Hunter.
I know for Cedric coming into this weekend, it really wasn't a mindset of I'm going out here to win. It's more of, let's just hope I don't finish last. I think that's kind of the mindset for a lot of these drivers is, We don't want to be last, but we also want to just make sure we're on track. And right now, for a lot of these drivers, we've seen mistakes for some of our front runners, such that of Aaron Smith and Cedric Hunter, both going to be having their issues. But for the lead, we are seeing a cluster again, and it's side by side for the lead action. Vincent Sora going to have the better positioning. Brian Johnson trying to squeeze on the outside the best that he can, lose the quarter panel, but here comes Zach Hall pressuring back on.
Yeah, they were almost 3 wide as they exited 12. There's Brian dove it down to the inside of Vincent Sora, wasn't able to keep it there and keep the inside in that tight section, but these 3 stacked on top of each other. They haven't been able to break away as this battle continues here coming down into turn 19.
Brian Johnson just trying to inch closer and closer, trying to figure out how to set up. This is going to be turn number 19 for these drivers. Zach Hall utilizing that exit ramp the best that he can. Johnson diving it down low to the quarter panel. Going to be forcing the issue, and Zach, the 42 had to back out of it because of Johnson's mistake.
Yeah, almost made a little bit of contact there with the 28. Might have actually made a little bit of contact there, but those 2 able to keep it going, and good awareness there from Zach, realizing that he was closing way up on the 28, was able to get it mowed down before they spun each other out.
This is very important. You look at the point standings coming into tonight. That of Vincent Sora comes in as the points leader, 10 points over Zach Hall, 11 points over Brian Johnson. And this is just going to extend that points lead by either 1 or 2 points over the drivers behind, as that of Vincent Sora, we're 2 laps away. I'm technically now about 1.5 laps away from these drivers being called for their stage break. No yellow will be thrown at the stage break, but when they come across the line, the top 10 drivers in those positionings will get bonus points, 10 bonus points to the winner of the stage break, dropping down 1 point per position until we get to 10th place. And Zach Hall, he's been patient in 3rd, and the patience is now wailing as he goes down into turn number 11, setting up for the pass, and he'll get it done just like that.
A great textbook pass there by Zach Hall, and now he sets his sights on Vincent Sora. Those 2 battling to allow Vincent to get out to about a 8-car lead on those 2, but we'll see if Zach Hall can run him down.
And how much of consistent run is Vincent Sora going to have, knowing that he doesn't have too much pressure, as they're starting to catch up also to a little bit of lap traffic. That's going to be James Hackworth Jr. It's going to be the first lap car for these drivers to deal with, and I think that's going to be the big thing of a talking point moving forward into the rest of this race here, Trevor, is once we get to halfway and further than that, lap traffic's not going to be, it's going to be one of the bigger factors for these drivers, not just racing between one another, as that of Vincent Sora trying to not allow Zach Hall to close in the gap, but it just seems like Hall seems a lot more comfortable in this 3rd sector of this racetrack.
Yeah, Zach looking really good here in the technical part of the racetrack as he closes up here to the 15, but they're going to have to be careful here as they catch up to Hackler in turn 20, and it's going to be about where you catch that lap car. If they catch him here on the straightaway, I think they'll be fine, but same as you noted, later on in the race, if you catch these guys in a bad spot, it can cost you a lot of time to the guys behind you or in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you can utilize the lap car for your advantage, but it also could be a major disadvantage at times, as drivers are bobbing and weaving their way through, but our front 3, our leaders, been putting on a fabulous show of keeping themselves out of trouble, but also giving each other plenty of pressure to make mistakes, as a driver that has made a mistake caught up with an incident just 2 laps ago. Christopher Norris having his issues, but we'll touch on that more. Locking up the brakes, the 42, as he's closing in through these last couple of corners through the S's, setting up for that of turn 10. Here comes Zach Hall. He made the pass on Brian Johnson at turn 11. Will he try it again a lap later on Vincent Sora? Seems like it's a little bit too far out, but it's been the exit of the corner. How good can the 42 get as you see the brake rotors glowing as we hit the back stretch, the speed trap. Here we go, Trevor, to turn 12.
Yeah, getting tucked in there behind the 15, trying to get that draft. Those 2 got a better launch than the 28 of Brian Johnson. I think pretty equal there between Vincent Sora and Zach Hall as they head down to the 12 here. Another hard braking zone. Zach not quite close enough to do anything, so he's going to tuck in line here and follow the 15 as we head down into sector 3.
Sector 3, turn 12 to 19 are what we're watching as drivers setting up. And for Zach Hall, Vincent Sora, they were the 2 drivers that were talked about all week long during the practice race. They put out a fabulous duel between one another, and even now 10 laps coming to the stage break. If that is Zach Hall wants to maximize his points, he's got to make this pass in just the final 2 corners through turn 18 to 19. The 42's got to set up for this pass. Otherwise, he's going to find himself just waiting and losing points to Vincent Sora. High, might drop it down low into turn number 20. Decides otherwise, not able to get to the quarter panel. And Vincent Sora, fabulous exit. And he'll take that of our stage break. And our stage break going to be sponsored by that of the admin box, as we're going to be seeing other drivers racing on. Top 10 drivers: Vincent Sora with Zach Hall, Brian Johnson, that of Chad Wilkes, Tom Jackson, that of Cedric Hunter, Aaron Smith, Brandon Colley, Justin Lewis, and Jamie Dunning going to be your 10 drivers getting those stage points as they're racing around. This has been some fabulous racing for our first 10 laps here, Trevor. And for our leaders, they keep it close. Middle of the field, they've had their little bickers with one another, and it's only one driver out. That's Christopher Norris as we go on board with Cedric Hunter.
Yeah, on board here with Cedric as he heads through the S's, getting it as close as you can to those turtle curves without hitting them. Keeping that car nice and tidy, working the wheel, and looking pretty good here as he heads through these S's, trying to recover from a little bit of a spin that he had early on.
He's going to turn up into turn number 6 here, and through that turn 7, actually that's turn 10 that we're now going into, heading down into turn number 11. And Cedric Hunter, driver that's utilizing a VR system. You see it on his face and over his eyes, and it allows these drivers, Trevor, a VR system I feel like is probably the best system to have if you're running at a road course.
Most realistic system for sure, and at a road course, it's so much more visibility because it gives you the ability to look left and right versus what you're set with on a monitor setup. So a little bit more visibility for Cedric, able to spot those apexes a little bit better for himself as he continues into turn 13, 14 here.
Now going to be just low gears, letting the car drift, getting into the throttle periodically, hard braking zone. We're setting up into that of turn 15, turning and getting themselves set up and situated, moving forward. And right now for the 13 Cedric Hunter, kind of what we would call into no man's land. He's got that of Tom Senchak about almost 7 seconds ahead of the 13 machine, and then almost about 4 seconds behind the 13 is Aaron Smith, who's trying to go on a recovery run, but he's kind of hit a plateau, not able to move forward very much, as that was a lap ran here at COTA with a driver cam, as well as seeing them on screen in the cockpit and seeing the wheel, how much Cedric Hunter's working that wheel. Obviously a hard thing to do, as driver having issues. Going to be the 97 Alexander Light in 16th place. Had to light up his tires to get rolling once again and lost 3 positions.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't touched on is tire fall off. Typically something that we would have talked a lot about in the Gen 6 car, but in the Gen 7s, from what we've heard through the practice races and practice, not a lot of tire fall off in these things. But if you're locking the brakes or lighting the tires up to get spun back around, as Alex had to do there, maybe chewing up the tires a little bit for some of these guys who are making little mistakes.
And those, especially on the fact that it's a lot more on the heat base on side of things than it is on tire wear itself that these drivers are dealing with. If you have these spins and burnouts of trying to get yourself situated and pointed in the right direction, you obviously are going to have to take a lap, if not 3 laps, taking it really slow, letting those tires cool off. Otherwise, you're going to be having some major issues moving forward, just speed-wise, as drivers further on back. This is going to be that of Richard Wolsifer, and going to be pressured by Ed Perry. This is the battle for 22nd position, and 2 drivers for that of Wolsifer still trying to get used to racing with a wheel again. Took a 6-year hiatus from sim racing, came back just about that of a week or 2 before the season started, and is 56, trying to still get the handles in this track. One of the more difficult road courses to get a handful of and take control, and as well having Ed Perry, a brand new driver to the league, 2 drivers that are just trying to survive, but giving a decent show back here for 22nd and 23rd position.
Yeah, really good battle between those 2. Wolsifer last week had a really good qualifying at Indianapolis, got caught up in an incident later on in that race, so didn't get the finish that he wanted. And that one is, sorry to change subjects, but Brian Johnson, huge lockup into turn 1, almost took out Zachary Hall, as those three were having a huge battle for the lead. But big lockup there from Brian Johnson heading up the hill. Just about saw him wipe out both our leaders.
And now, I mean, if anything, lucky that Zach Hall didn't lose even more time to Vincent Sora or get wiped out, like you said, and reset, try it again. And if anything, I think I might have spooked Vincent Sora more, because Zach Hall is right back in a pressure, in a passing position potentially here into turn 11. He is the closest he's been on these last couple of laps, but a bad exit at turn 9, and Sora is able to pull away.
Vincent there, really good exit, was able to pull away. I mean, these three Zach has a big lockup there, having a look to the inside. I mean, these three are getting aggressive with one another, and if they're not careful, they could easily take one another out of this, and that might bring in to the picture Tom Sinchek or Chad Wilkes, as those two continue to maybe gain a little bit of time as these three battle.
And as these three battle, again, touched on the note of drivers not having valid laps times being placed because people are utilizing their overextensions. We're down to just that of about 5 drivers that still have not put down a valid lap time in, and that's Zach Hall in 2nd place, Chad Wilkes in 4th, as well as Justin Lewis and Tyler Dangler and Wolsifer. Those drivers, all 5 of them, still have not been able to put down a quote-unquote clean lap, but luckily there is no penalty for themselves. But it's not really truly allowing us up the booth to see the data of what their true lap pace is, because there hasn't been a true valid lap put down. We can only see their last lap that they put in for themselves.
Yeah. Is Brian Johnson's going to peel into pit road here for an early pit stop, and it's going to be interesting to see with the tire wear that these drivers were talking about, if he decides to take tires or just fuel here to get himself to the end of the race.
And these drivers in that fuel window, I was looking at the fuel window for these drivers. I was looking to be anywhere from 20 to 15 laps was the fuel window, but it's the tires, who takes them or who doesn't. We were told a lot of these fast guys recognize you don't need to take tires. It's a fuel only stop, and right now still waiting for Brian Johnson to get rolling, and he'll get rolling 11 seconds in pit road. I'm curious if he also had some damage that he had to deal with. That's why he stayed in a little bit longer.
Might have had a little bit of damage. For the viewers at home wondering, it looks like you could take 4 tires at the same time it takes to take fuel. It's tire heat that these drivers are worried about. So, 1 or 2 laps on cold tires is going to be significantly slower than what these guys are going to run on their already warmed up older tires as this race continues.
This is the battling going on for a 3rd place now. Was 4th at one moment before Johnson coming into pit road, as that Brandon Colley also into pit road, as well as Chuck Sweeting. Those are going to be 3 drives. A little bit of almost some door slamming action between that of Tom Sinchek and that of Chad Wilkes, but Trevor, as a driver, going in and seeing these battles going back and forth and being behind the same guy over and over, and potentially feeling like I'm just a little bit faster than him, how can the patience level start to ramp up? Because we're into halfway and pit stops here shortly, as Wilkes, that's 17, is feeling the pressure a little bit too much at the moment.
Yeah, Sinchek there with a really good look to the inside. It's going to give him the outside, not the preferred line through this actual section, but he can get a really good crossover here out of this hard turn. Not going to quite get the crossover he wants, but Sam, as you said, as this race continues and the aggression level is going to amp up, and some of these guys might not be afraid to use that bumper to send you a little bit offline to be able to get that pass done. And it's something we're just going to have to wait and see as these guys try to make up time.
As Wilkes able to get out of the exit of the corner of turn number 14, better positioning up front. Zach Hall now into pit road for the 42, and you might be hearing some beeping sounds of, and those beeping sounds are the drivers coming into pit road, giving clear indications to the other drivers of, hey, there's a pit stop underway. Be careful when you come out exiting. As speaking of exiting, that's the 07 to John Peel making his exit, as Aaron Smith still 18.5 seconds off from Vincent Sorab, and He's been around that 17 to 20 second window from our leader, and she's not looking like he's going to be able to gain up any more time. Might have hit that stall out period, but certainly the 70 does have some speed, but this mountain might be too large as he's closing in on Cedric Hunter. That is for position.
Yeah, for Aaron, just definitely not the race that he wanted after qualifying on pole. Laid down a blazing fast lap time in qualifying, but just a little mistake at the top of turn one set him so far back in the field that I think you're right, Sam. I think it's going to be hard for him to recover unless something, happens to our top 3 drivers. But pretty good recovery so far, back up to 6th place for Aaron after that mistake.
Issues for Zach Hall. Talking about you better minimize your issues. Well, the 42 got a black flag speeding on exit, or it was an unsafe pit exit for the 42, but he's going to be forced to come back into pit road is Zach Hall.
That is a huge just mental mistake as a driver that you don't want to make, especially when you're battling for the lead like that, and fighting as close as he was to Vincent Soares. Now it's pretty much going to take away any chance that he has at winning this race, and just something you cannot do. On pit road, you can't have those types of mistakes, especially at a track where you're not going to get a caution and a chance to make it back up.
And if anything, this is going to be helping that of Aaron Smith just a little bit more for the 70 machine, because now it's going to force Zach Hall, who's already going to be behind the 70, going to have to come into pit road, going to lose about anywhere from 18 to 20 seconds of delta time, which then Aaron Smith's going to have to come to pit road. As into pit road now, it's going to be that of Vincent Soares, Tom Sinchek, Chad Wilkes. Starting to see drivers. Might be the window where everyone has to come in. As Smith as well hits pit road, and Cedric Hunter deciding to stay out. It's the 42 has to come in and serve his penalty.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it was a speeding in the pits penalty or a unsafe pit exit, because I think times vary there on how long you have to stay in your box. But Vincent Soares is already down and away with his pit stop. Tom Sinchek's down and away with his pit stop. Looks like just fuel only. And even Aaron Smith and Chad Wilkes are all down and away with fuel only.
Fuel only, and away they go. And Aaron Smith learning from past races that he doesn't need tires, and now going to be a factor to watch out for to potentially come in and try to take a top 5 finish here, with Zach Hall having a mistake of a holding penalty, and Hall's back out on track as he'll be mired back in 9th place for the 42. But this was a great stop for Smith because of seeing Tom Sinchek having a little bit of mistakes, for Chad Wilkes taking tires for the 17. The 70, he's going to have a potential chance to go for a top 3, and if not a podium finish now.
Yeah, great pit stop there from the 70 crew. Didn't realize that Chad Wilkes had taken tires there, but was able to jump Chad and not too far off of Tom Sinchek here. So really good pit entry there for the 70 machine as he tries to chase down the 8 of Tom Sinchek.
Aggressive in, taking just the amount of top fuel that was needed. No tires for the 70, and now Tom Sinchek's got to be a little bit more worrisome, because Aaron Smith these last couple of laps has been running anywhere from a second to a second and a half faster than the 8 machine, which means that he's going to be in trouble, and within a lap to a lap and a half, Aaron Smith's going to be out right on that back bumper of this 8 machine.
Yeah, it's something that Tom doesn't want to see. He was having a great battle there with the 17 of Chad Wilkes, but really had no pressure from behind. So it'll be, interesting to see now how Tom drives with the 70 machine kind of breathing down his neck.
Well, as we are now inside of this waiting period of drivers need to come to pit road, those that are charging up and catching up to one another, gives us the opportunity to thank some of our sponsors, those at iRacing iFlag. iRacing iFlag provides drivers with the best iFlag flag virtual system. Also gives clear indications on what the flag state is on track, as well can be used as a basic visual spotter for information. They've also got themselves a digital pit board box that you can get and give you clear indications on fuel usage, weather conditions for on-track and ambient weather, and many, many more. Great information to grab. If you'd like to go get yourself products from iRacing iFlag, go to iRacingIFlag.com and use our promo code FreakyFast2022 to get a percentage off of your purchase. As well, want to give a big shout out to that of the admin box. They are our stage brake sponsor as well here. At lap 10, got Steven Sensor get that stage brake win, but the admin box, a premium button box with plug it. That is a plug, set, and go. Already set and ready for the best admins and race controls out there to help with leagues, hosted races, and many more assets to help you on iRacing. Go use our promo code FFB-BOXX. That's FFB-box with 2 X's to get yourself a discount from the admin box. As well, our final sponsor is Advanced Sim Racing. Advanced Sim Racing is the fastest growing North American racing simulator, chassis manufacturer, and digital motorsports equipment retailer out there, and they are some of the best equipment to get you ready for sim racing. Advanced Sim Racing, use our discount code FreakyFast5 for 5% off. So we're past halfway. We'll step aside as the drivers continue to race here at COTA. We wait for Cedric Hunter to hit pit road. Should be within a lap or 2, but we'll be right back in just a few moments. You won't miss a thing as we go side by side. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Series of Sim Racing. Currently, our leader, Cedric Hunter, still needing to come into pit road. The driver that should be provisional leader, Vincent Sora, is pulled away from Brian Johnson, who's in third place as 13 continues to race. Thank you for joining us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me, it's Trevor Earhart, as well as Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background. Trevor, this is race number 3 of the season, and certainly we have a great opportunity to see 3 races, 3 different winners, with Vincent Sora looking as good as he is. But Brian Johnson's going to have to find a little bit of extra speed, as Cedric Hunter needing to hit pit road here in a lap or 2.
Yeah, right as you said that, Sam, Vincent Sora, big moment down into turn 12, ran wide. That allowed Brian Johnson to make up pretty much half a second. Now he's right back on Vincent Sora's bumper, but very good opportunity here to have 3 different winners, and this is shaping up, if Brian can keep this pressure up, shaping up to be another great finish.
Then also in 4th place is going to be having that of Tom Sinchek and Aaron Smith. They're going to be right on top of one another. That's for what could potentially be provisional fourth to that of 3rd place. It matters on how much time is lost by Cedric Hunter when he comes into pit road. Now fast the 13 can be. Right now, Tom Sinchek and Aaron Smith, they're closing in on lap traffic for themselves, as actually going to be contact. We got to move to 4th place position because it's side by side. This position matters. Tom Sinchek ran into lap traffic of James Hackworth Jr., and it cost him greatly on positioning and no longer able to defend over the 70.
Yeah, we had talked about it earlier on.
Vincent Sora mistakes at turn 1, costing in Brian Johnson now going to be moved up to 2nd place.
Vincent Sora there with a mistake and was the dominant car tonight, and that's going to allow Brian Johnson to just scamper away, gain about 3 seconds there on the 15 machine.
Yes, I'm so sorry, Vinny. A little bit of commentator's curse thrown in on there. Talking about the potential of 3 different winners in 3 different races. Well, Brian Johnson says, I'll take that rate back. I'll be a 2-time winner and win last week and this week, as now he'll be in the provisional spot to go for a win. As we still wait for Cedric Hunter to hit pit road, I'm pretty surprised by the fact that this 13 is still out there on track, but he was running a little bit of a slower pace than our leaders before, so might have been able to give him a couple of more extra laps than others, as we fall back to watch some of the other battling on track. And a driver that we saw earlier in a giant cluster for that of seeing 10th to about 15th is now pretty spaced out. Find Tyler Dangler here in the 19.
Yeah, after all these pit stops and everybody's just kind of making their little mistakes here and there, Tyler's found himself in some clean air here in 12th as he's heading through the S's here on lap 20 and looking fairly smooth for himself. As actually we're on board here with the 91 of Martin Morales, as he's now, I believe, heading down into what would be the S's for himself.
That's 91. Again, going to take it pretty calm for himself. Hasn't moved up or down since his qualifying position in 15th. And, everywhere from, I would say, 12th on back for drivers that are going with a let's just survive, as Gregory Schall struggling just to stay on track. And that's a tough spot right there, especially through turns 8 and 9 that we just saw. Staying on track, that's one of the harder places to stay on course.
You're just carrying so much speed through there, coming down into the braking zone, that the car just naturally runs wide. And you have to be careful. There's a little bit of AstroTurf of a runoff, but it's not far till you hit that grass, and hitting that grass, especially going in the braking zone, can be very disastrous for you as a driver.
Yeah, you get in grass, you're in the fate of where the grass wherever it wants to take you. As here on screen is Kyle Rochelle, who's been very quiet this evening. Usually Louisville's one of the drivers that we see making some big moves, either blocking or aggressive passes, and here tonight only up 1 position from where he started. And Rochelle just going with the patient, I'll just keep on driving type of mentality, as this is 21. Not the worst day in the world that you could be asking for a driver that's just looking for some type of consistency after the last 2 weeks of finishing outside of the top 15, as Alexander Light now hits pit road for the 97. He was up in 9th place and now going to have to give up positions to those behind as Justin Lewis and others make this pass, as Cedric Hunter stays out for another lap. But this looks to be indicating this is the lap to come in, as we're 21 coming to 22 laps in.
Yeah, that was the consensus kind of fuel run, was in that 21 to 22 lap window. So we should be seeing the 13 come down pit road. But for Cedric, the strategy here is, you don't have to take as much fuel on the pit stop to make it to the end, so maybe gain a little bit of time that he lost early on when he had a little bit of a spin there. So we'll have to wait and see where he cycles out at once he makes his pit stop.
Speaking about spinning out and cycling through, Vincent Sora behind this 13. As we stay on board, it looks like slowing down, and yeah, here he comes hard, and then he hits the wall on entry. Oh, Cedric Hunter in pit road. It has never been the best combination, and it strikes again for 13.
And it's such a tricky pit road here at COTA because it tightens up a whole lot more than you anticipated doing. So very easy to get into the wall. Thankfully, it doesn't look like that 13 machine has a lot of damage here as he gets his service. And Vincent Sora closing back up to the back bumper of Brian Johnson in the 28 in turn 1.
Yeah, well, he was about a second and a half back after his spin and costing so much time. Now, going to be right on the back bumper of his teammate, Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, feeling comfortable, but they can't get too aggressive with one another because Aaron Smith at one point was 20 seconds off of our leaders. The pit cycle goes through. The mistakes have been striking for Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, Zach Hall, and others. That 70 machine is almost a little bit under 9 seconds off of our leaders.
We have about 9 laps left. If these two get to battling hard enough with each other with the lap times that Aaron's been able to put down, I mean, there's a chance that he could close this gap in. If he doesn't make any mistakes and these two up front keep battling and making these mistakes, we might see the 70 car get there by the end of the race.
And this is where a lot of this focus starts to kick in. As teammates, they are talking to one another in Discord, and they have that clear communication of, all right, well, the 70 is 9 seconds back, 10 seconds back, or the Smiths closing in. And as well, I think they both have a circled number of, okay, on this lap, it's on. Whatever happens, happens. 70 catches us, it catches us. But let's try to race maybe a little bit civil here as teammates until we get to maybe those 4 to 5 laps to go.
We saw it last week in Indianapolis. These two not afraid to go at each other, even being teammates. We saw some massive blocks last week at Indianapolis. And we've heard them both say it that, yeah, we're teammates, but we're going to race each other hard. While we're on track. So, Sam, I don't know how nice they're going to be to one another, especially as this race winds down, but we'll wait and see what happens between the 28 and the 15.
As these two drivers, closest battle on track. The other closest battle, getting for 3rd place, is Tom Sinjak. Got to give kudos to the 8 machine. He's been keeping up with Aaron Smith. This is something I was talking with some of the drivers during practice, was where do you feel the most comfortable? Is that by yourself or with other drivers? And the majority consensus was, if I'm following somebody who's faster than me, I prefer that. I can learn and I can get a lot faster. And Sinjek has learned, and he's there right on the back bumper of the 70. And what was more of a talking point of maybe if Smith needs our leaders to get pressure and battle between one another, well, he's got to be worried some of the 8 that's putting the battle on.
Yeah, I can't think about running down the leaders when you've got Tom Sinchek right behind you applying pressure. Now you've got to worry about the car behind you, make sure you hit your mark so he doesn't get a run on you. Tom looking pretty good here, been able to keep up with Aaron, as you said, and he might apply some pressure here looking for that top 3 position.
They continue to race as hard as they can right now as this continues on. We look further back. You have that of Carl Pooler, who's gone a lap down, but maybe he can learn a couple of things from an angry driver at the moment. That's Zach Hall back in 7th place when he was at a point to try to go for a win. As we watch the 70 machine, he's seeing a little bit of mistakes from one of our drivers that likes to run a very loose and an angry machine.
Yeah, this late in the race, you just got to make sure that you keep it pointing the right direction. You can run wide. You just can't afford right now to lose the back end, spin the car around, because there's not enough time to make those positions back if you do make a mistake.
Carl looking up, trying to see all the information that he's got. So a lot of these drivers have anywhere from 1 monitor to 4 monitors in front of them to give them clear indications on where drivers are around, or just to see information and data And on these long straightaways, 71 was getting, oh no, gets too hot and spins it. And you can tell, not happy about that one, as Carl Puller luckily has got enough space to get rolling once again.
Yeah, thankfully nobody around Carl there. He's able to get it pointed in the right direction. But just, this late into the run, you're on 22, 23 lap old tires, and just an easy mistake there to make. Maybe carried a little bit too much speed, got the car sideways, but doing a pretty good job as we head back up to the front. Battle between Vincent Sora and Brian Johnson's heating up.
And for Vincent Sora, he's got about that 2 to 3 passing zones he's got to set up. Oh no, Brian Johnson hits the turtles, goes airborne, and now cutting across the course, he's gonna have to slow up. And Vincent Sora, from a mistake he made about 5 laps ago, to Brian Johnson now making the mistakes through the S's, and that's a bigger one to make at this point of the race.
Yeah, that's a heartbreaker for Brian. Thankfully, I don't know. I mean, lost about a second and a half there to Vincent Sora, but don't know if he's got any damage from those hitting those turtles. Those were pretty vicious hits there for the 28, so we'll have to see if he's got any suspension damage or anything like that on that machine. But if you're Vincent Sora, it makes you feel a little bit better that the mistake that you made has now been equalized by the 28.
Now we'll see if Brian Johnson, if he can try to make the climb back. We've seen both drivers have a little bit of a yo-yo action. As for the 70 machine of Smith, well, the gap now to second place is a little bit shorter, as it's now only about 6.5 seconds, if only just 7. As Smith tries to close in on the gap, Brian Johnson's got to hone in and make sure he doesn't make any more mistakes, as Smith goes a little wide, which gives an opening for the 8 behind him to close in the gap. But lap traffic going to be the key here for these drivers for 3rd and 4th. If they can get by lap traffic cleanly, this can help them in the longer run.
Yeah, we saw early on in the battle between Tom and Aaron, the lap traffic getting in the way of that. So, and again, it just comes down to where you catch these lap traffic guys at, because sometimes for these guys it's just hard to get out of the way, and you've got to be patient. So we'll have to see how this plays out as they catch these 2 lap cars in front of them.
Catching up to them, and it looks like the timing might be fantastic, catching up to these lap cars that are going to be battling for position, but it's going to be on the straightaway. Here comes Smith. Great launch out of turn 20 as well for that of going to be of the 8 of Sinchak as they're closing in. This is going to be that of the 86 of Rich Jameson, as well as that of Mark Morales. This is for positioning for both those drivers. 16th and 17th is 70 yellow Roasted Gems machine tries to get by, and a great pressure by the 8. Tom Sinchak does not want to get a lap car in between, kept that nose right on the 70s bumper as they go through turns 1 and now through the S's. They're going to actually, that's going to be Hackworth Jr. that goes wide and out of the way. Now going to be Mark Morales, who's got to be pressured, and the tension raises for these drivers. And this is going to be miserable for the 70 and the 8 as Mark Morales almost came up and hit the 8 machine, but that is costing over 2 seconds because of the S's mistake.
Yeah, just catching lap traffic in the S is just kind of demoralizing as a driver, because there's nothing you can really do. There's no room to pass. As we even saw, I think Martin was trying to get out of the way there, but it narrows so much that he almost got back into the 8 of Tom Sinchak. But those 2 drivers able to clear those 2 lap cars, and now they're going to keep battling down the back straightaway heading off into turn 12.
All about the podium. Who's going to get that positioning for themselves? Aaron Smith trying to get a great run for himself. One of the drivers that came in, and based off the rookie class that was coming in, he was one of the favorites to get a great run. But Tom Sinchak into turn 12, going to be trying to do a little bit of a late block as to really whoa up as a great defensive move by the 70. Now going to be in the better position on the inside is Smith again. Switch back, Tom Sinchak to the corner panel to the inside, trying to be side by side into turn number 15. Hard braking zone, and it's going to be that of Smith holding for now, and Smith holds it, but Sinchak doesn't.
Yeah, Tom a little bit too happy there on the power, got it, stepped out sideways. Great job saving that 8 machine now, but he's got to catch up on that time lost there to the 70 of Aaron Smith.
And a driver that's loving this is the 13th, Cedric Hunter. Now going to be less than 3 seconds away from that of Tom Sinchak, and closing in on this group and running pretty similar times to Aaron Smith and Tom Sinchak.
Yeah, Cedric cycled out of that pit stop, not too far behind these guys, and as they've been battling and dealing with lap traffic, Cedric's been able to clear it all fairly cleanly. Now he's got to get around the 2 cars of Rich Jameson and Mark Morales, but You know, he's been able to catch up to these guys, and he might have something to say about this fight for third place before this race is over.
Locking up, getting out of the way, lap traffic, and that's going to be the 86, but it's still going to be side by side, but lets off, and Cedric Hunter able to take off and head down into the S's. And talked about Brian Johnson trying to recover and get back into the mix. He was a little bit less than 2 seconds off of Vincent Sora after running over the turtles and giving up the lead. Well, now it's almost 5 seconds. I think there is some pretty bad suspension, internal damage to that 28 because it's just not running the same like it once was.
Yeah, those turtles are just absolute car killers, and for Brian, just kind of got to be heartbreaking. You've been battling up front with Vincent the whole race, and that little mistake, you know, giving you some damage there, slowing your car down, and now you just got to hope. You don't want to hope because he's your teammate, but you got to hope that the 15 makes a mistake that allows you to close back in and gives you another shot at this race before it's over.
Driver that's also looking for some good runs for themselves. As see the 28 just limping his way on by. One of the closest battles on track is the battle for 9th place. Justin Lewis and our biggest movers of both our biggest movers, that of Lewis and that of Jamie Dunning. Both drivers still have been on top of one another since practically lap 1. But for this is a lot more impactful for Dunning, who's trying to have his best finish of the day, for best finish of the season so far for the 54. His other previous best finish was last week at Indy, 18th place. Right now in 10th, trying to get their first top 10 of the season. While Lewis has been Mr. Consistent up front the last 2 weeks. This road course racing has not been his forte, and this track has been a torture for the 77. Has made some mistakes. Right now holding off with 4 laps to go.
And doing a good job here in 9th as these two continue to battle down in the heavy braking zone of turn 11. Looks like Dunning gets a really good exit there on Lewis heading down the backstretch. Wasn't able to quite pull beside him, but gonna get into his draft and see if he can set him up down here into turn 12.
Right on the back bumper. He is close enough to try to make a little bit of a dive bomb move if wanted, but I think Dunning gonna be staying high. A little bit of a defensive entry for Lewis, protecting that inner lane, but that's gonna give a switchback opportunity for the 54 right to the outside quarter panel block. Gonna be made by the 77, moving up. And this is the racing that Coda gives you. Now into sector 3, out of turn number 14 into 15. Hard braking zone here for the 54 and the 77 over the rumble strips, and that a little bit of a cut was a perfect exit for that of Lewis.
Yeah, great job there, cutting that corner just enough to get a good exit for himself. Pulls about 2-3 car lengths there. It gets a little loose out of the corner of that out of turn 18 heading into 19. Keeps it straight. And here comes Dunning here. Might have a little look down to the turn 20 heading down the front stretch.
Dunning going to be too far back for this opportunity, but still it seems like the aggressive push into the corner is there by the 54, but it's been the exit where Lewis has just been so much stronger for the 77 and continues to defend for that 9th place position. And other drivers that are keeping it close, going to be behind these drivers, Tyler Dangler and also Alex Light, who has fallen back but was looking very consistent earlier on. 97 starting to close in for 11th place.
Yeah, Light having a good run for himself there in the in the 97 machine. Is road course racing for some guys is something they look forward to, and other guys just look to survive. But good to see Alex Light having a good run for himself there in 12th position.
Let's try to get through the S's more cleanly than that of Tyler Dangler, and Dangler just trying to hit his marks. He's had a couple of mistakes here or there for the 19, but he's been around this bubble of that of 10th to 14th all race long. And now starting to see a little bit of closure coming in as in front of them. They're going to have Wolfifer in the 54 go wide. Wolfifer come back up in the groove after their pass. He does. And here comes the 97 on the outside, trying to do a crossover move, but just was too deep on the entry of the corner. Yeah,
it was alongside Tyler there trying to do the crossover move and wasn't able to cross him over because he would have turned the 19 machine. But good exit for Alex heading down the backstretch. He's going to carry a little bit more momentum. Tyler's going to defend to the inside, and we'll see if Alex looks to the outside, decides to think better of it, and maybe set him up here and through sector 3.
Hard on the braking zones, but allows you to get back to the throttle sooner. There's the 97 right on the corner, right on the back bumper, trying to figure out how to set up, and it looks like a better exit potentially by the 97, and that's a better one. Slipping and sliding. It's going to be that of the 19, side by side. It looks almost identical to the other battles we were just seeing, and somehow Tyler Dangler holds on for this positioning, but for how long is the question, as Light just looks like he can carry a lot more momentum here. Too much wiggling, and those rear tires are too lit up for Dangler. He's a sitting duck for these final 3 laps.
Yeah, Alex putting on great pressure here as they exit turn 19 heading into 20. We'll see if the 97 takes a look, closes right up on the back bumper of the 19. Not quite far enough to make a move there, but it sets him up coming down the front stretch, and we'll see if he can get him into turn 1.
Air launch is going to be there for that of Alexander Light. He's going to keep it within a 10. He's closing in the gap. Goes to the outside. Going to hard brake zone. Try to get a better exit out of turn 1 with the switchback move. Going to be right side by side, and the pass is going to be made. Clean pass on the exit of turn 1. And that is a picture perfect type of a move by Alexander Light. Loved the fact that he braked early, went with a much wider approach in turn 1, which gave him the better exit speed and just control out of the corner.
Yeah, great shot down the hill from the 97 after turn 1 as the 19 ran a little bit wide. So great pass there, textbook pass by the 97 into turn 1. Is now he takes over the 11th place position.
Move up further ahead. That's where we find Aaron Smith in the 70 machine. He's been able to pull away from Tom Sinchek, and now just finds himself in no man's land. 5 seconds ahead is that of Brian Johnson, and Johnson trying to catch up to this guy. Vincent Sora certainly drank his juice box here today because he's had the speed, he's had mistakes, but he has come back stronger from those mistakes and has seen all his competition make either similar or worse, just overall racing strategy throughout the night. Brian Johnson don't want to run over the turtles. He did so. Don't want to be making mistakes by getting black flags. That's what Zach Hall did. Aaron Smith got ran over on the exit of turn 1 on lap 1. And it's been Vincent Sora that had one bad spin, but in the perfect timing where he was able to recover. And now with over a 6-second lead, just passing lap traffic, calling out where he wants them to go. And he is now feeling comfortable up front, trying to get the white flag here tonight.
Yeah, having the gap that Vincent has, it's all about now just hitting your marks. You don't have to push the car as hard. You don't have any pressure out back, so just nice and easy into the corners, nice and easy on the throttle, hit your marks, and get back to the checkered flag. And, he's done a great job minimizing mistakes. He's had the one mistake, but it was a fairly small one compared to everybody around him. So, and that's sometimes all it takes at road course racing. You don't have to be perfect, but it's who makes the littlest of the mistakes, and so far Vincent's done that here tonight.
Minimize, keep it simple, neat and tidy. You might have a couple of squiggles off of where you want to be, but it's all right at the end of the day. As Vincent Sora coming through sector 3 into turn 19. One more corner to go before you get that white flag, and this race will become official as Vincent Sora clean through that of turn number 20 to the start-finish line as this race is official. White flag in the air for Vincent Sora. The driver that won half of the races last season, won the championship, points leader coming into tonight, and now just has to have one clean lap to find himself in victory lane here at COTA.
Yeah, second at Las Vegas, third at Indianapolis, looking to get that first win of the season. He's been Mr. Consistent all season long. Just as he heads through the S's, just got to keep it clean, make sure you don't make any any dumb mistakes here, and he'll have this race wrapped up and in the bag.
I mean, crazy to think, we're 2 races in. Usually you see a lot more drivers being like, all right, 2 for 2 in the top 5 category. Vincent Sora is the only driver that in our first 2 races has been in the top 5 for both of those races. He's also, because of being in the top 5, 2 top 10s. Doesn't look like he was having the most comfortable drive as he's been pressured, he's been moved, he's been placed in situations where it's been difficult, but out to the backstretch, out of turn number 12, turn 11 into turn 12, the 15 goes. Vincent Sora looking poised to get his first win of season 5.
Yeah, it's got to feel good if you're Vincent, get the the proverbial monkey off your back. I know it's only been 3 races and you've been second and third in the first two, but you know, it's got to feel good to get that first win of the season for him here as he rounds turn 13, heading to 14, 15, and 16, and just he's got so much momentum so far early on in the season that he's looking good.
Final sector of the racetrack is the 15 now, going through turn number 15 to 16. The hard, long 3 apex to right-hand corner turn, and now to the final couple of bends. Vincent Sora. Vinny's been strong. He was one of the favorites to watch out for here tonight, and he certainly has kept that nose out of trouble the best that he could. And at turn number 20, winner of race number 3 is going to be Vincent Sora, winning the Circuit of the Americas 100. Congratulations to Vinny on getting it done here tonight. Brian Johnson going to be 8 seconds back, coming across the line for himself. Then Aaron Smith's going to be your top 3. There was some close battling back for 6th place. As you see everyone else trickle in, Trevor, it was not a question at all. With 6 laps to go after Johnson's mistake, Vincent Sora, the race was in his hands.
Yeah, you know, he dominated most of the race there. Brian Johnson and Zach Hall were both up there, you know, the beginning part of the race, but after their mistakes, you know, for Vincent, it was just about keeping it clean. He did just that and was able to walk away there and win it pretty handily.
Driver, I mean, if we had to give a driver of the day, I think we could give it to Aaron Smith. Fell all the way back to almost 20th position. Climbed his way back. He was 20 seconds off of the leader. He was 8 seconds at one moment, and then gets 3rd place at the end of the day. Great run by that of the 70 machine. But as Vincent Sora gets to have fun at the S's, he is going to burn it down, have some fun. And for us up at the booth, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll talk to our top 3. We got the post-race show coming up. We'll talk to our top 3, talk about future races, and just take a breather, because this one was incredible at times. And at the end of the day, it's Vinny getting it done. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post race show here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You got to see the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series racing at the Circuit of the Americas here this evening. We got our top three. Let's get their thoughts on how the night went, as we got our pole sitter and driver had a recovery day overall. Aaron Smith II up in the booth with us. Aaron, I know that first lap didn't go the way that you hoped as getting the pole sitter and being this pole sitter for yourself, but man, what a recovery drive for yourself. How are you feeling with the third place finish overall, though?
It's not what I wanted tonight. I knew I had the speed to win the race. I knew I had the strategy to win the race. Went and gained like 10 seconds over the course of those pit stops, and I wanted to get a little closer to them, but I didn't expect for the stage caution not to come out. I didn't know the rules. I didn't read them, so that caught me by surprise. I definitely would have been a little bit more aggressive getting back up through the field there if I'd known that, but I worked pretty well with the hand I was dealt.
Yeah, overall a great recovery there for you. Coming back to finish third, you know, how tough is it after you make a mistake like that or after something like that happens to you on lap one, turn one, to settle back in and come back through the field?
For some reason, I think I'm like snake bitten at Coda for some reason in these Cup cars, so I'm used to it by now. I kind of have a level head if that stuff happens. I just work my way through the field without really that much of an effort. But yeah, it's disappointing, but it's all right.
I mean, Aaron, you certainly are a driver we're watching out for. We know a win's going to be coming for yourself at some point this season just because of the raw speed you have. But tonight, congratulations on a third place finish. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Roasted Gems Coffee for sponsoring this Camaro and all the folks here at the World Series of Sim Racing for putting this show on, and y'all for broadcasting, and everyone for watching. Looking forward to getting back at it whenever I show up next.
We can't wait to see you again, Aaron. That's Aaron Smith, going to be in the 70 machine, coming away with a third place finish here this evening. Congratulations on that, and good luck on the next race you come to.
All right, thank you.
As now we go to second place, where we have that of Brian Johnson. At one moment, looked like a driver that had a chance to win, but then comes away with second place instead. Brian, tonight was a night of mistakes, it seemed like, from a lot of drivers, but yours came at probably the worst time. How was that vehicle, and how are you feeling after hitting those turtles?
Well, my feet hurt and I'm very sweaty. I'm drenched. That's a tough race. Uh, yeah, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes tonight. Especially there at the end. I think Vinny would have got me anyway. Um, because he was faster. Even after I wrecked him. Uh, I mean, yeah, just a bunch of mistakes, but it's still a heck of a lot better than Tuesday night's practice race. I spun out once, hit the wall once, and then gave up. I was 3 seconds off of Vincent and Zach, so I really had to go to work after that, and did a little bit of research, practiced a lot, and and was able to have the speed that I had tonight. So that was pretty cool, but still just not only were the tires pretty hot there at the end of the race, but I was too. I haven't been worn out from a race like that in a while. So, not only was tire fatigue an issue, but I think I was a little fatigued as well. But, Vinny's pretty good. He's tough to beat. And, if I got to lose to anybody, I'd rather it be my teammate.
Yeah, Brian, great battling up front there between you and Vinny and Zach when he was up there. And you talk about being fatigued, and this track being almost 3.5 miles long and 20 turns. I mean, you guys are shifting a lot. I mean, how tough is that to maintain focus, especially when it gets late in a run like that, when you're mentally and physically tired like that?
It's very hard. Because I hit those. I call them the little blocks of cheese and the S's. Those little bumps on the inside of the curb. I hit those just because I wasn't thinking. And then after that had happened, and Vinny was pulling away. Then I was going into uh, one of the turns, the turn at the end of the really long straight, and I just completely missed my braking zone and went way too deep, just out of just not thinking. A brain fart, I guess. So yeah, it's not often, especially racing stock cars like these, where typically on the ovals it's a pretty easy. It's mentally it's not very difficult, and physically it's not very difficult. But you do these road courses, especially ones like this, and you have to constantly be thinking about where you're shifting, how much you're braking, and um, turning a whole lot, and something that we don't think about. I don't think is usually is our wheelbase is the more you turn, the more heat they put out. So it you got uh kind of like this heat box right in front of you, so it does make the room a little bit hotter when you do road course racing. So it's yeah, it's very much harder than oval.
Oh, Brian, we're going back to a little bit more traditional racing next week to Kansas. How you feeling about getting back away from heartbreaking in this grueling race you just had to go into a Kansas race where you really have no idea what we're going to be seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I always welcome mile and a halves. I like them. I know some people don't, but I'm a big fan of them. However, Kansas is low on my list of mile and a halves. Always has been. Um, but we're going there with a new car. I know me and I don't think any of my other Cat 5 teammates has done a race at Kansas with the next gen. But I'll just speak for myself, not them. So I don't know what to expect. Hopefully it'll go well. Going to the into the playoffs, winning last week, that makes the rest of the season pretty easy. I think if just getting top fives and top tens from here on out is going to be pretty comfortable by the end of the regular season.
Well, certainly we know that you can be comfortable with being the most winningest driver of the series, Brian, and can't wait to see you back out on track again next week at Kansas. But for tonight, congratulations on a second place finish. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, as always, gotta send a shout out to you guys. You guys do a great job. We really appreciate you. Everybody that tuned in, appreciate them as well. And really tonight, just gotta thank Vincent and Zach. We were we were racing very very hard during this race, and a lot could have went bad. Some did go bad. Like I said, I wrecked Vincent just being dumb. Um, so I gotta thank him for not getting too mad at me. Um, and then, like I said, just Zach, because racing hard and feelings get hurt between teammates when you got to race that hard sometimes. But I think we did pretty good. So, and then of course, rest of the Cat 5 guys, and then really all the drivers in this field. A lot of times we see smaller fields in leagues at road courses, but I think tonight we had a good amount of drivers. So got to thank everybody that came out tonight.
That is going to be your second place finisher, Brian Johnson in the 28. Congratulations again on a second place finish, and good luck at Kansas next week.
Thank you, sir.
As we go from second place, we go to victory lane while we bring in Vincent Sora in the 15. Vinny, I mean, something had to click with you three. You've seen Brian and Zach and yourself with hard racing before pit stops. But man, were you expecting the amount of, mental fortitude that you had to put in to come back after the spin at turn one to find yourself into victory lane here tonight?
Yeah, it took a lot. It especially took the respect of Brian, because unfortunately we made a little bit of contact going down in turn one, and he was very cordial whenever I got back to him, and unfortunately he made a little mistake in the S's, and yeah, I mean Brian and I always race each other really good and really clean, and that's the first time in like 2.5 years that we've ever gotten to together in a league race, so it's pretty impressive. Uh, and to still be able to finish 1-2 is pretty cool.
Yeah, Vincent, you're on a hot streak to start the season. Second at Vegas, third at Indianapolis, and now you get your first win of the season. I mean, looking at what we have coming up on the schedule, I mean, is there any track that's coming up that you really don't have any confidence going into?
I mean, I feel like I got a good bit of confidence at every track. Some are better than others for me, but we have Kansas, Martinsville, uh, and Daytona coming up, and those are all. I mean, Daytona is just going to be a toss-up, really, for anybody can win that. But Kansas and Martinsville, I feel like, are two pretty good tracks for me. Kansas is a mile and a half, which I feel like I've shown probably my most strength on. I led the majority of the laps at Vegas until the unfortunate ending, and then Martinsville, I like that track. It's a short track. I feel like I'm pretty good at short tracks too. I won Richmond last year, and I've had a little bit of success at Martinsville in the past. And then Daytona is just going to come down to my teammates and whoever I can get to help me. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good coming in the next 3 weeks.
Vinny, you have found yourself into victory lane, going to be the third driver in 3 races to get a win. And congratulations on that. And before we let you go and have fun celebrating, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for broadcasting because you did a great job. I'm really excited to go back and watch this one because it was really fun from the cockpit. So I'm hoping that it was just as good from the broadcast standpoint. I want to thank my personal sponsor, Coney Setup Shop. I want to thank all the league sponsors, especially Roasted Gems Coffee. They're our title sponsor. They do a lot for us. So big shout out to them. I just want to thank all the drivers that show up every week. We've had great turnouts. I mean, to have almost 30 cars on a road course is really impressive. So just big thanks to everybody because they're the reason that this gets to happen. And I want to thank all my Category 5 esports teammates, and I want to thank my Sidewinder Motorsports teammates, Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, and Aaron Kralik. Unfortunately, we're missing 2 of them tonight, but we're winning for them still.
Can't wait for them to show up. But that is going to be your winner here tonight for that of the Circuit of the Americas 100, Vincent Sora. Congratulations on the win, and enjoy celebrating this one.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
As we go from victory lane, we get ourselves set up to take a look at our unofficial results for tonight's race. Again, thank you for watching this one. It was interesting at the first half, and then we got to see how the dice would roll and where everyone would lie at the end of the day. And it was Vincent Sora getting the win for the number 15. Then in second place, going to be his teammate Brian Johnson, coming in second, with third being Aaron Smith. The second, as well as that, going to be Tom Sinchek in fourth, but Cedric Hunter in fifth. Zach Hall going to be in sixth position. Seventh is going to be Chad Wilkes, with Brandon Colley in eighth. Seventh, Justin Lewis and Jamie Dunning, our biggest movers of the day, ninth and 10th position for both those drivers. But Trevor, we look at the rest of the field. There's some that I would imagine are happy that we're finally leaving a road course.
Yeah, you look a little bit further down the field there, you got Chuck Sweeting and Christopher Norris down at the bottom end of the field after starting inside the top 15. So those two, probably looking a little bit forward to Kansas. And if you're Brandon Colley and then Zach Hall, those two not having the results, especially Zach with the pit road penalty, you're probably pretty ready to get out of Coda and head on and load up and go to the next track.
Next track that we're heading to was going to be Kansas, back to mile and a half racing. We saw how Las Vegas went to start the season off. Will it have more flair this go around, or will it be a little bit more on the strategy end? We'll find out. But tonight, Vincent Sora getting himself into victory lane and winning here tonight. Third driver in third races in the third race of the season to get a win. And Trevor, this isn't the end of us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the week. For tonight it is, but we still got a lot more racing coverage to go. 5 more days after this, the 802 Next Gen Cup Series on Sunday, the ISRC Trek Series on Monday, Full Send Racing on Tuesday, Wicked Racing on Wednesday, Stars and Stripes on Thursday. Then we're off on that of going to be on Friday night, and then we're right back to WSSR racing coverage. It's going to be at Kansas. Thank you for joining us. And Trevor, before we give our final thoughts, end the broadcast, what are some of your final thoughts this evening?
Great racing by those 3 up front. A great job by Vincent Sora, just minimizing his mistakes and getting his first win of the season. And, Sam, 3 races, we've had, really good battling up front. And I think Kansas is just going to bring more of what everybody's been used to seeing from these guys on Saturday nights. So definitely looking forward to next week.
Next week should be a good one. After tonight's win by Vincent Sora, he's probably going to go enjoy himself a juice box after this one, as the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series goes from Texas to that of Kansas next week for that of 150 laps. Mile and a half coverage. Can't wait to see it here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, for Robert Moyer, and everyone else that helps out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining us here tonight, and thank you for watching some road course racing Saturday night coverage. We will be back next week, but if you want some great racing coverage throughout the week, we'll see you tomorrow night for that of the 802 Next Gen Cup Series at Homestead. Have a good one, everybody.